Listen to this. Your calendar is not just paper, screens, reminders, and appointments. It is a quiet map of where your energy is going, where your hopes are going, and where your future is being shaped. You may think of it as a list of tasks, but it is more than that. It shows what you are making room for. It shows what has been given too much space. It shows what you believe matters. And sometimes, it shows what your heart has been trying to tell you for a long time. Your life cannot keep running on empty and still grow into peace. When you honor your limits, you make space for peace to grow, and that peace becomes a quiet teacher for the days ahead in your life today. Breathe with me for a moment. Look at the days ahead without fear. You do not need to panic when you see the spaces that feel crowded or the spaces that feel blank. Both can teach you something. The crowded spaces may be revealing where you have been overgiving. The blank spaces may be revealing where you have been afraid to begin. Neither one is a sentence over your life. Both are invitations. The Creator has not placed you here to survive every week in confusion. You are being called to choose with more wisdom, more tenderness, and more courage. Remember this truth. Time is not only something you spend. It is something you reveal yourself through. When you fill your calendar, you are also saying what you believe about your future. Are you filling it with noise because silence makes you uncomfortable? Are you overcommitting because you're afraid to disappoint? Are you leaving no room for rest because stillness feels unproductive? These are important questions, not because you have done something wrong, but because you deserve a life that does not constantly press your soul from every side. Your future begins in the way you treat your hours today. Your calendar tells a story before your words do. It tells whether you protect what matters or keep surrendering it. It tells whether you are honoring your limits or living as if your limits do not matter. It tells whether you are making space for growth or only making space for survival. That is why this message matters. A future built on exhaustion will always demand more exhaustion. A future built on clarity will create room for peace. You are allowed to redesign your days. You are allowed to stop living like every empty moment is wasted. Some empty moments are healing. Listen to this. There is wisdom in saying no. There is freedom in saying not yet. There is strength in saying I need to think. There is peace in saying I cannot carry that right now. A full calendar can look impressive and still leave your spirit hungry. A simpler calendar can look quiet and still protect your joy. Do not measure your worth by how little space remains on your schedule. Measure your life by whether it leaves room for honesty, breath, and meaning. The right future does not always arrive with more pressure. Sometimes it arrives with less. You may have been taught that being busy means being valuable, but busyness is not the same as purpose. A life that is always in motion may still be going nowhere inside. The future you want does not grow from frantic activity alone. It grows from chosen direction. It grows when your hours begin to match your values. It grows when your energy is spent on what brings peace, growth, kindness, and real alignment. You do not need to fill every hour to prove you matter. You already matter. The question is whether your calendar reflects that truth. Feel it in your soul. The dates you protect become the places where your life can breathe. If every hour is handed away, there is nothing left for reflection, nothing left for joy, nothing left for healing. That is how people lose themselves slowly, not all at once. One obligation at a time, one unspoken yes at a time, one ignored need at a time. But that can change. You can begin to hold your time like something precious because it is precious. Your future needs space to arrive. Your heart needs room to understand what it is becoming. The future is often shaped long before it becomes visible. It is shaped by the people you keep near, the thoughts you repeat, the commitments you honor, and the things you stop tolerating. Your calendar is one of the clearest signs of what is shaping you now. If your week is filled with care, learning, and meaningful work, your future will begin to reflect steadiness. If your week is filled with constant stress and no recovery, the future will feel strained too. This is not about perfection. It is about direction. Small patterns become large outcomes. You are building more than a week. Breathe with me for a moment. Imagine a calendar that leaves room for your peace. Imagine days with enough space to think clearly enough space to sleep, enough space to take care of what is important without rushing every step. Imagine not being afraid of stillness. Imagine your schedule serving your life instead of swallowing it. That is not a fantasy. It is a possibility, but it begins with one honest glance at what you keep allowing. What is your calendar saying about your future? Is it saying you are available to everyone, or is it saying you are finally available to yourself? You may feel guilty when you consider changing your schedule, as if protecting your time means failing people. But listen carefully. Protecting your time can be an act of love. Love for your health, love for your family, love for your purpose, love for the people who need the best of you, not the leftovers of exhaustion. When you are constantly depleted, even kindness becomes harder to offer. When you are grounded, your presence becomes lighter and more truthful. So do not be afraid to rearrange what needs rearranging. A better future often starts with a better use of your hours. Remember this truth. Not every invitation deserves an answer. Not every request deserves immediate surrender. Not every open slot in your calendar needs to be filled just because it exists. Some open space is a gift. It gives your mind room to settle and your spirit room to listen. That space can become prayer, reflection, rest, creativity, or simply breathing without hurry. Do not let the world convince you that empty time is a problem. Sometimes empty time is where clarity returns. Sometimes it is where your inner life catches up with the rest of you. Sometimes it is the beginning of healing. The moment you look honestly at your schedule, something powerful begins. You stop seeing only tasks and start seeing tendencies. You notice where your energy gets poured too quickly. You notice where your peace gets interrupted too often. You notice where you say yes but mean maybe, where you say maybe but mean no, where you keep adding weight to a life that is already asking for relief. That awareness is not meant to shame you. It is meant to wake you with kindness. A future full of clarity begins when you finally respect what your inner life has been trying to say. Listen to this. You are not required to keep every promise that was made in a hurry. You are not required to carry every expectation that landed on you without prayer, without thought, without peace. Some commitments were born from fear of disappointing others. Some were born from wanting to be needed. Some were born from not knowing your own limits yet. You can look again. You can revise. You can choose more carefully now. That is not betrayal. That is growth. Your life deserves careful tending. Your yes should mean something. Your no should protect something. Both can be holy. The way you use your calendar also reveals how you see yourself. If you never make time for rest, you may be saying, without words, that your needs come last. If you never make time for reflection, you may be saying your inner life does not deserve attention. If you never make time for joy, you may be treating delight like a luxury instead of a nourishment. But your soul needs more than labor. It needs renewal. It needs stillness. It needs room to remember what light feels like. A healthy calendar is not just organized. It is compassionate. Breathe with me for a moment. Picture the version of you that is no longer rushing from one demand to the next. Picture a day with space to think, space to create, space to sit quietly and not feel guilty about it. Picture a week where you're not always catching up, always late, always behind your own breath. That image may feel far away, but it is not impossible. It starts with one honest edit, one canceled extra, one boundary, one protected hour, one choice that says, my peace matters too. The future grows through those quiet choices. There's a part of you that already knows what needs to shift. Maybe it is the pattern of saying yes when your body is begging for rest. Maybe it is the habit of filling silence so you do not have to feel what is underneath. Maybe it is the tendency to treat every free moment as a problem that must be solved. The deeper wisdom in you knows better. It knows that not everything urgent is important. It knows that not every opportunity is aligned. It knows that what you keep repeating is helping shape what comes next. Listen to that wiser part of yourself. Remember this truth. The future does not need you to be frantic. It needs you to be present. Presence allows you to notice what matters before it slips by. Presence lets you hear the quiet signs of burnout before they become collapse. Presence helps you feel the difference between meaningful effort and meaningless strain. It also helps you notice the people, places, and practices that truly support you. When you are present, you become less controlled by pressure and more guided by awareness. That awareness becomes a compass. It points you toward a life that has rhythm instead of chaos. The calendar you keep is a reflection of the life you are training yourself to live. If every day is overloaded, your nervous system learns to brace. If every week has no breathing room, your mind learns to rush. If every month is built around obligation with little room for joy, your heart begins to forget its own shape. That is why this message is so important. A future of peace is not built by accident. It is built by patterns that teach your body it is safe to slow down, safe to rest, safe to trust, safe to be. Feel it in your soul. You may have been living as if every pause is a risk, but pauses can be protection. Pauses can be the moment you notice something you would have missed. Pauses can reveal whether you are acting from truth or fear. Pauses can keep you from agreeing too quickly to what your heart does not want. Pauses can help you remember the divine in the middle of your ordinary hours. You do not need to fill every silence. Sometimes the quiet is where your direction becomes clear. Sometimes it is where your courage begins to return. Your future will also be shaped by what you stop carrying. Some of the weight in your schedule is not even yours. You inherited some of it. You absorbed some of it. You accepted some of it because no one told you it was okay to refuse. But carrying what is not yours will always leave you tired. Let some things return to where they belong. Let others be left behind. That is not cruelty. That is clarity. You're not meant to become a storage room for everyone else's urgency. Your life is sacred space. It deserves respect, including from you. Listen to this. A clear calendar can be a sign of inner honesty, not emptiness. A slower week can be a sign of wisdom, not laziness. A protected evening can be a sign of healing, not withdrawal. Do not let shame speak over your attempts to create balance. Shame often tells you that if you are not overextended, you are not enough. That is false. A person who is rested can love more freely. A person who is steady can serve more wisely. A person who is not constantly stressed can hear inner guidance more clearly. Your peace helps you become more useful, not less. There's a rhythm that supports life, and there's a rhythm that depletes it. One rhythm includes effort, rest, reflection, and connection. The other includes pressure, obligation, avoidance, and numbness. Which rhythm has been shaping your weeks? Which rhythm do you want to carry into your future? The answer matters because rhythm becomes identity over time. You begin to live the way you practice living. If you practice hurry, hurry becomes normal. If you practice care, care becomes normal. If you practice alignment, alignment becomes the pattern of your life. Choose the rhythm that helps you breathe. Breathe with me for a moment. You can start again without erasing your past. You do not need to pretend you never overcommit, never ignored your needs, never let the days crowd out your peace. You only need to decide that from this point forward, your life will be guided by more truth. That decision can be quiet. It can be private. It can begin with a single evening reclaimed, a single morning protected, a single weekend no longer surrendered to everything but your own renewal. Small beginnings are not weak beginnings. They're often the strongest kind. The Creator has placed enough wisdom in you to notice when something no longer fits. Trust that wisdom. It may not be loud, but it is steady. It may not demand attention, but it is honest. The questions you feel are not there to torment you. They are there to guide you. Does this commitment support the future I want? Does this pattern strengthen my peace? Does this activity make me more whole or more scattered? Those are the kinds of questions that can change your life. You do not have to answer them perfectly. You only have to answer them honestly. You may be afraid that if you slow down, everything will fall apart. But sometimes things need to fall apart so they can be rebuilt correctly. Not all collapse is loss. Some collapse is revelation. It shows you what was too weak to carry the life you want. If your schedule falls apart the moment you begin to choose peace, then maybe it was never built to sustain you. That realization can hurt, but it can also free you. You do not need to keep forcing yourself into a shape that exhausts your soul. You can rebuild with truth. Remember this truth. Choosing well is not the same as being selfish. Choosing well is how you honor the life you have been given. You cannot pour from an empty place forever and expect to remain kind. You cannot keep sacrificing sleep, silence, and sanity and expect your future to feel bright. The more intentionally you care for your inner world, the more naturally your outer world begins to shift. Conversations become clearer. Decisions become simpler. Your patience grows. Your mind settles. Your heart softens. All of that begins with the courage to protect what is most important. The future can become gentler when you stop confusing convenience with calling. Some things are convenient, but they do not lead you anywhere meaningful. Some things are hard, but they lead you toward the life your spirit has been longing for. That is why discernment matters. It helps you choose not only what is easy, but what is aligned. Not only what is immediate, but what is lasting. Not only what fills a slot, but what feeds a soul. When your calendar reflects discernment, your life begins to feel less scattered and more deeply yours. Listen to this. There is no glory in burning out for things that never fed you in the first place. There is no honor in pretending every request deserves your energy. There is wisdom in pausing before you promise. There is dignity in protecting your attention. There is grace in leaving room for the unexpected ways the divine may guide you. When your life is too crowded, guidance becomes harder to hear. But when you create space, even a little, you begin to notice the gentle pull toward better choices. That pull is worth following. You can begin by asking one question each morning. What would support my peace today? That question changes everything because it shifts your focus from obligation to intention. Some days the answer will be to rest. Some days it will be to work diligently. Some days it will be to reach out. Some days it will be to decline. Some days it will be to sit quietly and do less. There is wisdom in a life that responds to the true need of the moment instead of just obeying habit. Let your days become more responsive and less reactive. Feel it in your soul. You do not owe your life to chaos. You do not owe your future to overextension. You do not owe your body to endless strain. The peace you are seeking is not selfish. It is part of the life you are meant to live. When you say yes to it, you are not rejecting responsibility. You are rejecting unnecessary suffering. That distinction matters. Healthy boundaries do not block love. They preserve it. They allow you to show up with clarity, patience, and steadiness. That is far more valuable than being available for everything. Sometimes the calendar reveals an even deeper truth. You have been trying to heal in the same environment that keeps reopening the wound. That may be a schedule, a relationship, a habit, a role, or an expectation. If that is so, you do not need to condemn yourself. You need to notice, then gently adjust. Healing usually needs support. It needs enough quiet to hear yourself. It needs enough stability to feel safe. It needs enough room to breathe. The future you want may be waiting on the other side of one protective change you have been afraid to make. Do not wait until exhaustion becomes a crisis before you change course. You can honor the warning before the collapse. You can protect your days before your body forces the lesson. That is wisdom too. Wisdom does not need drama to become real. It only needs honesty. If your schedule has become a place where your soul disappears, then let this be the gentle alarm that wakes you without shaming you. The future you are hoping for deserves better stewardship than that. Your time, your energy, and your attention are all sacred. Treat them that way, and your life will begin to respond. Breathe with me for a moment. Imagine yourself learning how to keep a promise to your own peace. Imagine yourself declining what is too heavy. Imagine yourself giving your best energy to what actually matters. Imagine yourself no longer carrying guilt for protecting your space. That version of you is not selfish. That version of you is healthy, clear, and grounded. The calendar does not control your life. You do. And if your life is aligned with the divine, then your choices can become gentler, more patient, and more full of meaning. That is a future worth building. Maybe you have been afraid that if you make space, you will be left with emptiness. But emptiness is not always a threat. Sometimes empty space is where healing enters. Sometimes it is where creativity returns. Sometimes it is where the answer comes. Sometimes it is where you finally hear your own heart again. Do not rush to fill every gap. Leave some room for grace. Leave some room for insight. Leave some room for rest. Leave some room for the quiet guidance that only arrives when you stop crowding your life with every possible distraction. That quiet is a gift. Remember this truth. Your future is not only decided by the opportunities that appear. It is also shaped by the protection you are willing to give your own soul. What you refuse matters. What you postpone matters. What you choose to prioritize matters. Your calendar is like a witness. It tells the truth about what you have been building. If you want a calmer future, begin by making calmer choices. If you want a more meaningful future, begin by protecting meaningful time. If you want a more peaceful future, begin by honoring peace today. It starts now. The Creator has not hidden the path from you to punish you. Sometimes the path becomes clear only when your heart becomes ready to walk it. That readiness grows when you stop living against yourself. It grows when you stop saying yes to what tears you down. It grows when you stop treating your own needs as if they are optional. You are allowed to build a life that supports your wholeness. You are allowed to move slowly. You are allowed to choose differently. You are allowed to protect the future by changing the present. These permissions matter. Listen to this. Your calendar can become a place of healing instead of pressure. It can hold reminders of what strengthens you. It can hold time for rest, prayer, reflection, learning, movement, and quiet. It can also hold clear boundaries around what no longer serves you. This is not about control. It is about care. When your schedule is shaped by care, your life begins to soften. You're no longer dragged everywhere by demand. You begin to lead your own days with calm intention. That is one of the ways a better future quietly begins. You are not here to be consumed by obligation. You are here to live with awareness. You are here to choose with dignity. You are here to build a life that does not constantly leave you aching for a break from yourself. A thoughtful calendar can help you do that. A protected calendar can help you remember who you are. A balanced calendar can remind you that rest is not earned only after collapse. It is part of how you stay alive, clear, and kind. Let that truth guide your next choices. So take this message into your heart. Look at your calendar as a mirror, not a master. Ask what it is revealing. Ask where your life needs more breath, more truth, more space, more peace. Then make one change, then another. You do not need to transform everything in one day. You only need to begin. The future can change from the inside out when one person chooses honesty over habit. That person can be you. And when you begin to protect your peace, you are not shrinking. You're finally giving your life the room it needs to grow. Take a quiet moment now to reflect. Pray in your own way, or simply sit with the divine and listen. Ask for wisdom to choose what supports your soul, strength to release what drains you, and peace to trust the space you create. If this message spoke to your heart, please like, comment, and subscribe for more daily guidance. Keep returning to what is true, and let your future be shaped by care, clarity, and calm.